Thank you. Got that one settled. That's the first part of the platform, is getting all these platforms to work. And, yeah. So I want to take you here a little bit. My name is Bill Prusha with Eastman Chemical. And on this, a lot of the conference, a lot of times we talk about the digital assets, shop floor. On this, for the next 20 minutes or so, I'm going to take you on a journey, and we're going to go into the stratosphere. I'm going to take you way up and bring it back down, okay? So hopefully for the next couple of minutes, come join me on this journey, and we'll have a little bit of fun with this. First off, Eastman Chemical Company. We were actually a part of Eastman Kodak. If any of you remember Eastman Kodak, I think they still exist. They spun us off in about 1994. We've been our own company, and I just wanted to kind of briefly explain, who we are. We're headquartered, we're in Tennessee, about $10 billion in revenue, 15,000 people. But the most important, this is off our website, the most important things I wanted to concentrate on is we're a global specialty chemical company, okay? With a portfolio of specialty businesses. It's market-driven approaches, okay? Those are very important because on the next part, if you go on our site, you'll see continuing to reduce commodity position. We were a commodity chemical company. Now we're trying to be a specialty chemical company, okay? That's what we're trying to be. That is our goal. The problem we have, though, is a lot of our processes, a lot of the things are way back from 1994. How do you move a company? How do you move? How do you switch platforms? How do you do things, okay? So from that, we tried to say, what problems are we trying to solve, okay? Moving from moving from a commodity company to a specialty company. This is the one that we really love, and I imagine all of you in this boat. Current processes that enable the business does not support our growth. We have systems. We moved in 1994. We were a new company at that point. What do you think everything was geared for? Oh my God, now we have stockholders. We have to do external reporting. Everything was geared to that. All the processes in place were there. We haven't changed that in 20 plus years, okay? And I imagine all of you are in that same boat in some cases. How do you make strategy into tactical operations? They're disconnected. How do we pull that together? The one I love is slow to change. You cannot have a presentation today without using the word agile. So I have to put the agile, nimble. How quickly can you move, okay? Those are the things that are holding us back, okay? Quicker information, real time. Now this is one that gets me. A lot of you probably see this real time, especially on the manufacturing shop floors. Getting that information real time is critical. But as you go up to the chain, a lot of times an arguments come, oh, we don't really need real time information. We don't really need that to run. We're doing forecasts 20 years out, such and such. But my take on this is give people real time information, do it for a year, pull it back, see what happens. I'll bet you they will all come back to that. We believe that's important to start getting more real-time information, building this information, connecting it, pulling it together, okay? We started looking at these problems and we sat there and say, where we're at today, our company, how do we get there, okay? We can't do this the way we're at. Too many of our processes are old. How do we change that? So what do we do? This is the point in the presentation where I usually come and we show, okay, here's of course you all know, the 10-year anniversary. Only 10 years for the iPhone. This has changed the world, changed your life. All this about in the next couple years, we're gonna have a gazillion connected devices and all this information. What is it? We're probably doubling, quadrupling data every 10 minutes. I mean, you guys have seen all those slides. I stole this from one of my counterparts though. I thought this was more important because you all have heard that. Current and the future. Today, we are on that train track. We know where we're going, or we know where we want to go. You can't deviate. You're going to get there, okay? But you can't change much. It's very strict, very governed. This is where we're going. But how do you change? What I think most companies or people want to do is on the right. Freewheeling, go where you want, move and change. Now you got to be careful because with that. And I started thinking about this, and 15 years ago, I think everybody was looking as, Walmart's going to rule the world. Okay, well, later on, now it was Apple's going to rule the world. Well, okay, Google's going to rule the world. Now Amazon's the one that's going to rule the world. And I started thinking, it's kind of interesting, Amazon, talk about change. Here it was a company that on the retail space, they have a lot to do. I shouldn't say they have a lot to do with destroying a lot of the brick and mortar retail companies. Look at Sears, look at Macy's, look at Kmart. You can just sit there. Think of what Amazon has done. And it's funny, and I think you all have seen this just a couple months ago. Now what's Amazon doing? They're starting to open up retail stores. The whole industry that they just eliminated, they're starting to build back. And go figure, I can't figure that one out. But they're able to change, okay? I told you we were a division of Kodak, okay, at one time. They spun us off. I believe this is correct, but the story is that Kodak actually created the digital photography, Kodak, okay? Now where are they today? Here they came up with a new technology that pretty much destroyed them. We were providing the chemicals for their film, okay? Now they're sitting there, you've all probably know, a lot of you, I don't even know if Kodak still exists, I think they're still there. But they, in a way, what they invented kind of destroyed them. Did they reinvent themselves? Did they change? Were they on the left or were they on the right, okay? Many examples of there. It's funny, so as I was walking through the vendor booth, I started looking at all the vendors and I just dotted down words, all the things that you hear. Global, cyber, transform, clarity, sustainability, digital automation, reliability, cloud, empowered. These are all on the vendor side, okay? How do we get there, okay? You can't do it by staying where you're at. This whole digital transformation and the platform to help provide that is where we're trying to go. So what do we come up with? So we come up with this decision-making, I kind of coined that, a decision-making analytics platform. I want to put a legal disclaimer at this point, okay, for our company. Everything I'm showing here is not approved by our company. I mean, we're working on this, we're looking at it, we're trying to get executives to go. It's just what we're trying to do to move us in a different direction, okay? So, course correction based on insights, information that we need. How do you pull all this data up to do course corrections and move a company quick? Those are some of the things we're trying to build. Execution of a strategic objectives through tactical business operations. The key the executive teams and others looks is here's our strategy, here's where we're wanting to go. Now, how do we bridge the tactical business operations all the way down to the shop floor to move into where the company wants to go? How do you go from a commodity to a specialty? How do you build that? How do you bridge that? You can't do that with processes and applications that you have that are 20 years old. Scalable, flexible enterprise platforms. I just talked about the agile. How do you move? How do you get go quicker? Cloud and all. It's funny, the cloud. We talk about the cloud. 7 years ago, I remember one of my, I guess it was my boss at the time, asked me, Bill, are we ever going to move our systems, like our ERP systems, into the cloud? And I said, 7 years ago, I said, yeah. He looks and says, there's no way, that's never going to happen. Just in 7 years, is there anyone here not looking at moving a lot of your applications into the cloud? Of course, we all are. And that's where all the other things, the cybersecurity, how do you secure that and stuff. But these are the things on our platforms that we're all looking at and trying to move to. Data quality and governance. Governance is an interesting one because I just showed when you're on that railroad track, you can't deviate. That's kind of governed. If you want to be freewheeling, how much governance do you apply? In our case, we're looking at it, master data and such. We're trying to govern that a lot better than we have. And I know in the keynote session before, I think one of the a gentleman asked a question talking about, how do you manage these recipes and bombs and other things? A lot of that's just the data, the master data governance. Some of that, obviously, there's more to it when you go into the processes. But that was another area we're looking at, the data governance. Innovation potential. To sustain strategic growth, I've kind of talked about that. And then we believe real time is a difference maker. How do we get all that information, build it up, aggregate it, get it, send it, give it to the anybody, executive team or anybody, where they can start making decisions quickly. So what we did is we partnered, one of the sponsors for me here, we partnered with SAP, okay? I imagine most of you have heard of SAP. Most of you are probably running on SAP, okay? We partnered with them on a concept, and I'll talk a little bit about this. It's a digital boardroom and on their platform. But the one thing we started with the value prototyping and design thinking, and I just wanted to throw that in here for this group. If you haven't done any design thinking, value prototyping, I think a lot of the buzzwords and such, they're very good tools and it got us started, okay? We were looking at SAP. I'm not going to go into the S4 HANA, but it's a new platform. That's the platform we're kind of looking, and this is just on our ERP side to start going the path forward. But we're helping them. They helped us with this digital boardroom concept. I'm going to talk a little bit about that, of how that helps and how it's helping us to take a very top level, and then eventually we'll start pushing that down, and how we can get things moving, how do we get change, how do we get funding, how do we get sponsorship. The whole thing, though, is all things we're trying to do, is all things analytics, all things decision-based. What are you trying to do? How do we move quicker? What markets do we go into? These are all the decisions, everyone from the top down to the bottom, these are the decisions, and then we're trying to make, how do we make our systems apply to that? So I'm not going to go, you can read, you can see the digital boardroom with SAP. I'm not going to read the bullets. But I want to talk about the last two checks, the analyze business in real time. This is the first time in technology in the last couple of years this is coming out where you can start really, the databases, big data, all these things are connecting where you can now start analyzing this big data. Start doing it in real time or at near real time to start helping making these decisions. Simulations, that's another thing we really want to start doing, is doing a lot more simulations, a lot more model driven approaches. In the past, you may not have been able to do that because the systems just couldn't run these models that may take days to run. But now we're seeing some models run in seconds. What does that do? It allows you to create more models against that information, more simulations, and I think that was also brought up in the others, is how do you model, do the simulation before you actually move something into production, okay? So a lot of what ifs, and in all these what ifs, all the way up to the top, they need this operational data. How do you know how you're doing if you're profitable? Someone said, I guess it was the same session before, it may not be so much about efficiency, but how do you do profitability? These are all the informations we're trying to build up. So we worked with SAP and they helped us build this digital boardroom, okay? So we built a proof of concept. We created a digital version of our operating model. And in fact, we kind of coined it, instead of a digital boardroom, we kind of called it an interactive operating model. Okay. Our goal was to connect that strategy to the operations, highlight the analytics, demonstrate what real-time could be, understand the changes required, and demonstrate the art of possible. So we're having drill downs, capabilities, performance issues, all these things, all these modeling. We tried to look at that, what's the root cause, and we actually gave this to our executive team. We built this and let them look at it. Now, I've seen some other companies use the same tools, and they did it even at operational level. Here's a business, here is their shop floor information. But bottom line, what we were trying to do is just grab the information, put it together, give it to our executive team, okay? The outcomes of the proof of concept. What we tried to do is highlight what great, not what good looks like, but what great looks like, okay? We showed this to executives. We didn't know how it would respond, but it was to say, here is some stuff you can get. Here's where you might be able to change this. What if pricing changes? What if this happens? How do you control the profitability? What is that doing so that you can now look at the strategy? How do we then take that and send it down to the lower levels to start executing on that strategy? Some of the key takeaways, just having the data connected, letting them see what was possible. The key on this, though, for us is, like I said, this is just a prototype. We're not doing this in an active production environment. But what was interesting is we came to tell them or show them that all this stuff that you want is not possible with the platforms and the digital technology that we at our company currently have. We're too based in old processes, old platforms. We need to bring that up. We need to start doing a lot of these things, pulling things together of what you're hearing in the conference, what the vendors are doing, how to pull this stuff together. And that was the key. So we're like this, hey, this is great, you can have this, but that's where it kind of, So now we're digging down and now we're re-looking. This was our way to get them to say, hey, we need to reinvent ourselves, re-look at our processes all the way from the bottom all the way to the top, pull this together. How can we do this as a company? Build us something to make us go, or to help us go from a commodity company to a specialty chemical company, okay? We cannot do that without changing what we have. So these are the things that we were using to kind of pull this together. So our path forward is, there again, assessing the business transformation. We're trying to look and design systems from all levels. Decision-making capabilities, real-time analytics, standardization. It's fun. Standardization, we're not differentiating. I always love that one. Everybody's customized everything from all cases. A lot of stuff we customize. Do you really need? Is that what your company? Is that your core competency? A lot of cases not. So we're trying to make that. Let's put standard where it is and only differentiate where it matters, where we can be competitive. Looking at strategic agility, looking at roadmaps, how we pull that together. And then the sponsorship, this was for our executive team to say, hey, we get it, we need to do something, we need to change. It's kind of getting that sponsorship to help you change, to move on the platform. Okay, so that was kind of really, I just wanted to give you a quick overview of our journey of what we're trying to do. With that, using some of the tools and technologies, the big data, the database, the HANA database from SAP is what we're using for that. Get the executive team all the way to the top to understand that we have to change the way we are to get into the new digital revolution here. How do we change that? All that information, you know, the 5 gazillion bullet points of information that's being collected every 2 seconds or such, it's meaningless if you don't pull that together and use it and do something with it, okay, to make a profitable adjustment to your company. So with that, I just wanted to quickly kind of talk, that was our journey of where we're going, of what we're doing, and from that, we're hoping to get later on some initiatives going where they can say, let's reinvent ourselves, let's reinvent our company using some of these platforms and technologies to go forward. And this drives all the way down to the bottom. A lot of you, I know, I've talked to some of you kind of work on the shop floor, some of the digital, the assets, manufacturing. You all know you can't do a whole lot unless you have the top okay in this and sponsoring, because you need money to do the rest. So that's kind of our journey of where we're starting from the top so that we can get to the bottom, rebuild the bottom, bring that back up, okay? So I thank you.